Number 10. Moto Guzzi. Did you know one motorcycle logo exists because the third founder never lived to see the first bike? During World War I, 3 young Italians served together in aviation, dreaming about building motorcycles when the war was over. Their names were Carlo Guzzi, Giorgio Parodi, and Giovanni Ravelli, a decorated pilot and racer. The plan was simple. Guzzi would design and engineer, Parodi would fund and organize, Ravelli would race and promote the machines. The perfect trio. Then the story breaks. Ravelli died in an aircraft accident after the war, before the company was formally created in 1921. The dream went ahead, but one chair at the table was empty, so when Moto Guzzi finally launched, they did something that seems small until you know the context. They put a broad-winged eagle on the logo as a tribute to their fallen friend and to their shared aviation background. That bird is not generic Freedom clip art. It is a squadron emblem that never got retired. Over the decades, the lettering and colors shifted, but the eagle stayed spread and level above every tank and fairing. So when you see a Moto Guzzi pulling away by the lake, that logo is not just shouting freedom. It is quietly carrying the memory of the pilot who never got to ride one. Number 9. BMW. For decades, riders were sure BMW's logo was a spinning propeller, and BMW just let it slide. You know the badge. A black ring with BMW at the top and a checker of blue and white inside. Those colors are not sky and cloud. They are the colors of Bavaria, the German region where the company was born. When BMW was founded in the late 19-teens, the logo was really a simple origin stamp, a round mark for Bavarian Motor Works. Nothing about blades. The propeller idea only took off in 1929 when BMW ran an advertisement that showed an aircraft in flight with the roundel drawn over the spinning prop hub. It was a clever way to sell aircraft engines during a tough time. The public connected the dots. Round logo, white and blue quarters, plain engines, ad with a propeller. Obviously, it must have been designed as a spinning prop right from day one. BMW knew the story was convenient for marketing. For a long time, they did not correct it. In recent years, they finally came out and said it clearly. The logo is based on the Bavarian flag, and the propeller is a myth that grew out of that old advert. So the badge on a GS or an S100RR is not really a spinning blade. It is a regional flag that advertising accidentally turned into one of the most persistent logo myths in motoring. Number 8. Honda. The wing on your Honda did not come from a wind tunnel sketch. It came from a Greek statue. In the late 1940s, before Honda Motor Company was even officially founded in 1948, Soichiro Honda was already thinking about how his brand should look. He became fascinated by Nike, the Greek goddess of victory, especially the famous sculpture with her wings spread as she strides forward. Those wings and the sense of motion they carried stuck in his head. Around 1947, he created a wing mark for his young company, drawing on that image of Nike and mixing it with the idea of an eagle in flight. It was meant as a personal emblem of victory, progress, and a determination to move forward. Early versions of the logo showed a more detailed figure, but over time the art was simplified. The body disappeared, the feathers were sharpened, and eventually all that remained was the clean, angled wing you see on tanks and side panels today. Honda's own history still describes the wing as a symbol of challenge and ambition, not just speed. So when a delivery cub or a Fireblade passes with that emblem on the side, there is a straight line from marble in a museum to aluminium and plastic on the street. A war-tired engineer looked at an ancient sculpture and decided that was how his new machines should feel. Number 7. Kawasaki. The sharp emblem on a Ninja H2 looks like some new edgy logo, but it was flying on ship flags before motorcycles even existed. For years, Kawasaki was visually defined by a bold wordmark and a blocky K shape. Clean, industrial, easy to read on a fuel tank. Then riders started noticing a strange 3-stroke symbol appearing on special models and in corporate material. 3 prongs, almost like a stylized letter. Kawasaki calls it the river mark. It is a stylized version of the Japanese character for river, pronounced kawa. This mark first appeared in the 1870s on flags flown by ships built at the Kawasaki Tsukiji shipyard. Long before there was a dedicated motorcycle division, it was the emblem of a shipbuilder, not a bike brand. In the 21st century, as Kawasaki pushed into outrageous projects like the supercharged H2 and reorganized its business, the company decided to bring the river mark back as a symbol of its heritage and ambition. Now that 19th century ship flag emblem sits on some of the fastest production motorcycles ever built, so the logo on that mirror finish H2 is not a fresh design for a turbo age. It is a river character that has quietly flowed from steamships to superchargers. Before we dive into the next 5, please do make sure to subscribe to the channel and hype the video. Number 6. Royal Enfield. Royal Enfield's famous line "made like a gun" sounds like marketing poetry, but it is almost literal. The Enfield Cycle Company grew up in England supplying components linked to the Royal Small Arms factory at Enfield, alongside building its own bicycles and later motorcycles. The name and early identity came straight out of that weapons world. When they started promoting their machines, they leaned into it hard. Badges and advertisements showed artillery pieces and rifles, and the slogan "made like a gun" sat right next to them. The key detail is the gun most often pictured. It is not a neat little hunting rifle. It is usually a heavy cannon, the kind of artillery piece that exists to fire again and again without failing. That is the message baked into the logo. These bikes are built with the strength and durability you would expect from military hardware. Modern Enfield still use the slogan and cannon imagery to link present-day retro singles back to that industrial history. So when you see a Royal Enfield parked under a war memorial cannon, it looks like a coincidence. But the bike is literally wearing its own artillery fantasy on the tank. Number 5. Indian Motorcycle. Indian's headdress logo has outlived the company more than once. The story starts in 1901 in Springfield, Massachusetts, with the company that would become Indian Motorcycle. Over the decades, it enjoyed success, collapsed, vanished, and returned under new owners more than once. Through all of that, one visual element kept coming back: the flowing script name in the profile of a Native American-style headdress, often wrapped into a round badge with the year 1901 around the edge. Brand and design sources describe that headdress as a deliberate link between the name Indian and ideas like strength, freedom, and the open landscape. It is meant to capture a certain romantic image of America on two wheels. In modern times, the logo has been refined and redrawn, but the basic combination of script and headdress remains, especially under the current Polaris ownership. You can debate how that imagery feels today, but as a piece of brand continuity, it has been the visual anchor every time someone has tried to bring Indian back from the dead. When a modern chief rumbles past with that badge on the tank, it is carrying a symbol that rode through bankruptcy, factory shutdowns, and eras where there was no Indian at all. The logo survived even when the motorcycles did not. Number 4. Yamaha. Yamaha's logo is 3 tiny tuning forks, and they secretly describe how the whole company is supposed to work. Look closely at the badge on a Yamaha instrument or motorcycle, and you will see 3 tuning forks crossing at the center of a circle. The musical meaning comes first. The 3 forks stand for melody, harmony, and rhythm, the basic ingredients of music. That is already a neat nod to the company's roots in piano and organ building. But Yamaha's own corporate history adds a second layer. Those same 3 forks also represent technology, production, and sales working together in harmony. It is both a musical diagram and an organizational chart. Even this circle is doing work. It represents the world of sound and the global scope of the brand. Instruments, speakers, bikes, boats, all under one round frame. On some motorcycle badges, the fork tips actually touch or pierce the outer ring, giving the mark a slightly sharper, more aggressive look than on certain instruments. A tiny detail only nerds notice. So the next time you see that symbol on the side of an R series, remember you are looking at a little piece of musical hardware that also explains how the company wants its people and factories to behave. 3 parts in tune, or the whole thing sounds wrong. Number 3. Triumph. Triumph's modern triangle badge looks like a clean piece of brand design, but it is really an old engine stamp dressed in black. Today, you see it as an inverted triangle with the Triumph wordmark across the top and subtle fragments of the Union flag tucked into the lower corners. It is smooth enough to sit on a fashion hoodie. Go back to the 1930s and you find something much less polished. Triumph engines carried a triangular mark along with patent wording, a small metal badge that basically said this unit was built and protected by Triumph. When the company refreshed its identity in the 2010 era, it did not invent the triangle out of nowhere. It pulled that old engine maker's mark forward, refined the shape, and folded Union Jack elements into it to shout British origin a little more loudly. The result is compact but loaded. The triangle says Engine Builder. The flag shards say built in Britain. The clean word mark says modern global brand. So when you look at the badge on a new Speed Triple, you are really seeing a piece of a pre-war engine case, shaved down and sharpened into something that can live on a tank and on a t-shirt at the same time. Number 2. Ducati. Ducati's modern badge is basically a red corner and a racing line pretending to be a logo. On current bikes, it shows up as a glossy red shield or droplet shape with the Ducati name and a single white curved stripe cutting through it. This shield-style emblem arrived in the late 2000s after a professional rebrand, replacing older word marks and more mechanical logos. The company wanted something simple that would still scream performance. Branding sources describe the shield as representing protection and honor, the kind of toughness you associate with race-winning machines and premium Italian engineering. The white stripe is the clever part. It is widely explained as a stylized road or racing line, a graphic that gives a static badge the feeling of motion and direction. Some commentators also link it to innovation and progress, a line pointing toward the future. Red ties the whole thing back to Italian racing tradition and to Ducati's identity as the passionate sport bike brand. Once you see the shape as a little red corner with an apex drawn through it, it stops being just a corporate logo. It is a tiny, permanent track map stamped onto every tank.